Campbell, get after him!
Hey, Campbell, what are you doing? You're on the hot seat. You're on the hot seat.
And with that,
if we're being fair,
welcome
the way he turned around and smirked, I kind of wanted to fight him too. If we're being fair, like
we were back with another edition of the Yelling Cap. I mean the Nightcap, where everything is kosher, nothing is going wrong in this moment in time. Everything looks hunky dory. All of my sports teams are currently on running a sane operation, and nothing is going wrong. That was in 1985.
I say, is that what's happening?
Yeah, my entire sports world has turned into a giant ball of fire in a matter of 2 weeks.
Yep.
And it makes me very sad and very over sports at this current time. But
I feel that
in my sports depression, we are not here to talk about my sports depression. Wait, yes, we are.
Well, kind of. Yeah.
So, Iowa State has dropped another football game this season to Ohio by the final score of 10-7. Yeah, things are.
I've been
so hot.
I've been debating on this last few days about whether this was going to be just an hour of us yelling or if it was going to be calm and measured takes. I've been going back and forth because part of me does want to just scream for an hour. But
Gotta give the people what they want.
I know, but at the same time, if we had done this Saturday after the game, absolutely, just a bunch of yelling.
I curled into I didn't really curl into a ball, but I curled into a mental ball on Saturday after the game. It was bleak there, and partly my reason of curling into a ball was I had a free bet on FanDuel worth up to $200. I put everything on Iowa State on the money line.
What a dumb fucking bet that was.
I was like, there is no way Iowa State is losing to
There's
Ohio.
no fucking way.
There's no way. And then it just was hanging at 0-0. 0-0.
Yeah.
0-0. Missed field goals. I'm like, okay. Get to halftime. Okay, there's might be a chance Iowa State's not winning this football game. Come out of the half. Jaden Higgins falls down, interception. Ohio scores a touchdown. I'm like, oh boy, at least this is just a free bet at this point. It's just a free bet. It's fine. It's fine. But it's free money that Nate Scheelhaus decided not to help me with. Huh?
Yep.
And I mentioned last week in my stock in Ryan Clanton could not be any lower now. Now you can argue the whole fact that maybe he doesn't have the guys that he wants to work with just yet. Well, I don't care. There is literally zero improvement in the run blocking from this team. At this point, it is an effort thing. You can see it on the field. You could see it on the broadcast. Without watching the all 22, that offensive line is giving literally no effort in the run block.
Every single play, at least one, if not two or more linemen are immediately getting blown 2 yards in the backfield. Period.
And then
every time.
the other three are
usually James Neal, who is having just a horrible season.
Standing around, and this is the thing that drives me nuts about offensive linemen. Also, I said some takes about the offensive line on Twitter on Saturday, and some guy came at me. He's like, well, you don't know anything because you didn't play. I'm like, well, all right. Discrediting my time as offensive guard at Iowa Central Community College, all right? At the time, it was a prestige junior college program, all right?
And then Matthias showed up and it lost its prestige immediately.
High level junior college football at that time, all right? Guy, random dude, get off my ass. But luckily, our friend of the program, Psycho on Twitter, who happened to block for Troy Davis, came to my defense and said I was right. So suck it, random guy. Anyways,
shout out Tim Cohn.
Yeah. I always call him just Psycho. That's just a thing.
I mean, you don't have to be a big offensive line guru to see that Iowa State's offensive line is dog shit.
Hell yeah, go Tritons, baby. Or Dodge, rise up.
Before Dodge. I mean, you don't have to be like, I even like every time I do a film room or I whatever talk about football online or whatever, like I'm the first to admit I am not an expert when it comes to offensive line. But what I can see is I can see multiple guards getting blown off the ball to the point where they are. I mean, they're starting the play 2 yards in the backfield, and then I have to watch James Neal get thrown around like a rag doll, and it's like if the average completely uneducated fan can look at this offensive line like this one sucks, like you're in bad shape. You're real bad shape. And like you said, maybe it is, man. Maybe it is Ryan Clan. Just maybe the guys in the room are just ruined. Maybe Jeff Myers just ruined them to the point where they just like they can't be fixed, and they're just doing what they can. Maybe James Neal is there until they're just holding out for 2 more games until Jake Remsburg is back. I mean, I don't think Jake Remsburg is like some offensive line savior, but I mean, he would be the best one in the group. But
well, it's probably second best. I
after
think Tyler Miller's better.
not this season, he hasn't been.
Well, I mean, how do we even really know if Jake Remsburg really all that? I mean, he's played.
We don't. We have to assume
he's good. He's okay. He's okay, right? But he hasn't.
He would be starting over James
season.
Neal. We know he's starting over James Neal. Period.
And then Tyler Miller would be our left tackle in this case. And I don't think the problem at tackle would really be that noticeable at that point in time. But the one that is going to still be noticeable when Jake Remsburg gets back is Daryl Simmons.
Left guard. Actually, Daryl Simmons was okay. Jim Boniface is the one that's been really struggling.
Well, if you go back and look at a lot of those runs, Daryl Simmons, over the last 3 weeks, Daryl Simmons has been constantly in the backfield, not doing anything.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm trying to figure out, because like even these same guys last year, they weren't like getting demolished at the line of scrimmage like they are now. So I'm curious what changed. Like if you're being more aggressive, theoretically, they should be damn near like false starting because they're trying to get in somebody's face.
Here's the thing that's driving me nuts, and I don't know how. Like you went through a spring pro, and they hyped it up in the Cyclone Creativity, whatever you want to call it, the hype clips that they post out, mic'd up coaches, etc. They hyped up this violence thing like it was going to be a thing, and they are literally showing 0 ounce of violence in their run blocking. Like you in pass blocking, you have to be violent with your punches, right? When somebody comes up, you're pushing them off on a bull rush, and you're violent with those, jabs in your hands. Run blocking, you just have to be a son of a bitch that's going to beat the shit out of somebody in front of you and move them off the ball. And we literally have 0 ounce of that in our bones on the offensive line. Like, well, it's at this point, like, I don't think it's
what's interesting too, though, is that pass blocking has been good. Like generally speaking, pass blocking has been pretty good.
Yeah. And I don't think it is a talent thing, and it's not a size thing. It is more at this point, like you have to have the mindset as the offensive lineman that you are going to line up in front of the guy in front of you, hat on hat, and beat the shit out of him. And when you don't have the ability to create that mindset in your brain, it ain't coming.
What's truly mind-bending to me is that the pass protection is so clearly head and shoulders better than the run blocking. It's not even close. Yet for whatever reason, they have decided that we still must establish the run. Like if they get a 15-yard completion downfield or whatever, what's the first play they do every time? Fucking inside zone out of the shotgun. Every goddamn time. They see a big play happen in the passing game, they say, you know what? Perfect time. Let's lose a yard on a run play. Every time. They've been doing it since, the entire Campbell era, basically. But like, your run blocking is clearly horrible. Your pass blocking is good. Use your pass blocking. I know you may not like, I don't know, maybe you don't, I don't know if you don't just for some reason still don't trust Rocco or something like that or what, but like Rocco's been fine. And I would argue that aside from the 2 interceptions that were totally not his fault on Saturday, like it's pretty good. And, he's been doing good enough that you should feel comfortable at this point, leaning on what is turning out to be okay pass protection and a perfectly serviceable quarterback, and trying to throw the fucking ball. I don't understand why they can't. why I don't know why I don't understand why they're so stubborn that they have to quote unquote establish the run. You're not establishing anything. All you're doing is successfully pulling the front six up further and further to the line of scrimmage. But they're not
Successfully
doing
wasting
anything.
a play.
You're wasting
every
plays.
series.
That's all you're doing. You're wasting plays. And you're wasting everybody's fucking time because now we're just sitting here getting 2 yards a carry, if we're lucky, 1.7 yards a carry, probably. And we're just wasting time. We're wasting downs. You're going to end up in 2nd and 10 every goddamn time. And then all of a sudden, now we're stuck trying to pass down the field. And if you don't trust your quarterback to throw 15 yards down the field, well, don't put him in down and distances that require him to throw 15 yards down the field. Get to fucking second and let him throw on 1st and 10. Get to 2nd and 5 or something. Throw one of your absolutely sacred out routes or a crossing route or a drag route or something like that. Get to 2nd and 5. So that way, if you need to, if you really, really want to run the ball on 2nd down when everybody thinks that, 2nd and medium might be a passing down or whatever, run it. Just run 2nd and 5, get to 3rd and 3, and then you have options. Then you can either throw the ball or whatever. Don't leave it. Don't get into down and distances where all of a sudden now you are requiring your quarterback to make a throw 15 yards down the field if you don't trust them to do that. It's just basic math.
I said this last week, and I said it on podcasts last year, and I remember physically or mentally saying it too. It's like there are more than one way to run the ball rather than a traditional handoff to a running back. Now let's go to our favorite NFL quarterback, for instance, right now, Brock Purdy with the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, who is probably the best mind in offensive football history right now in the current game. I should say history, but in the game now.
I mean, the game right now has better offense than there's ever been.
Yeah,
as far as scheme goes. So
let me not say the best, but top. Let's just say top 5 for sure. He's
the best in the game at the moment, and then from there you're just
you could really have a heated argument about Sean McVay versus Kyle Shanahan, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what Kyle Shanahan does really well, right? So it's playing into the quarterback's strengths, also getting ways to get the ball in the playmaker's hands, and also which is not a designed run, but it's basically a longer handoff and you see it if anybody watched the 49ers versus the Rams on Saturday. They did it multiple times with Deebo Samuel, where they would send him in motion and then they would do a quick flip out to the left or the right. It was basically a pass, but it was a longer extension of the run game. That's another way.
It was basically a sweep.
Yeah, basically a sweep, but it was like 10 yards out, whatever. That's one way they can get the run game going. We don't do that. We could do wide receiver end arounds.
You can do middle screens and stuff like that. You can do all sorts of crazy shit. You can do shovel passes and shit. You can do all sorts of crazy shit that don't have to be a handoff.
Literally the definition of on our offense. We are literally the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over to try to run the ball.
Another thing that kind of drives me nuts, though, is like, their offensive philosophy has always been players, formations, plays, or whatever like that. I've never seen a team so willfully ignore the roster and look at the strengths of the roster, as far as adjusting the scheme goes. Last year, they were still trying to run like 2-3 tight end heavy sets when you had basically no starting tight ends. And now we're still trying to run the damn Brock Purdy, Charlie Kolar, Breece Hall offense when you don't have any of those 3 guys. You definitely don't have Breece Hall.
I could have swore we did.
And it's like, you're clearly skipping the first step of your own goddamn philosophy. Not that would be the first time that this staff has completely ignored everything they fucking said in public, winning in the margins and players formations plays. You're just blatantly disregarding every goddamn public philosophy you've ever had.
Why is it that both of my favorite football teams are doing the exact same things and ignoring everything they said they were going to do? It's so similar right now, and it's totally different, but it's very like similar in my head. Like they say the shit that they're going to do, the Bears and the Cyclones, and then they don't do any of it. They completely ignore it. They go to left field. They're like, well, we'll just try this, and then just keep doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it, and then they don't use the players that they have in creative ways to move the football. And it is complete hell when you watch that on Saturday and you're like, Sunday will be better. Fucking wrong. Same thing. And I just like, why, how in today's game, when you have the level of offenses that we've seen with different schemes, different plays, different this and that ways to be creative, that we have the few select ones that are like, oh, well, we'll just keep doing it this way and hope maybe it'll finally bust open, and it doesn't. And then they keep doing it. They keep doing it. It's like there are a ton of ways to move the football, and like we just completely ignore the fact of even trying any good way to move the football. And what really drives me nuts is this happened on Saturday, and then it happened again on Sunday, was, okay, Rocco Beck leads Iowa State down. He literally passed every play on the touchdown drive and was in command of the offense. And then we completely took the offense out of his hands by trying to run a same 5-yard junk route that we've been running the entire game, and literally the Ohio cornerback bid on it and forced basically the ball to bounce off whoever it was, and then it ended up in an interception. And, fast forward to my Bears, Justin Fields leads a commanding drive to get down within 3, and then they go to a screen pass that they ran 30 other times right before, and it ended up an interception because the defense knew it was coming. It's like, why? You took the ball out of the hands of the guy that was cooking one drive prior and made it into a stupid decision because you had to get back into the scheme of your offense. When these guys are both better up-tempo, they're not thinking about anything, they're just balling out, rather than when you put them back into this forced offensive scheme and it makes them think about the concept of the scheme, and then they become less of a player at that point in time, and that's when it just dulls out. And that's, I think, where Iowa State is, and the Bears, but it's not a Bears podcast. But that's where Iowa State is, where they are forcing the scheme onto a player that just needs to be up-tempo and playing free and just balling out. And that's where I think Rocco Beck is going to be really good. And that's where Brock Purdy was really good, because he could be the guy that just freelanced and did whatever the hell he wanted. And I'm not saying Rocco Beck is Brock Purdy, but I think the offense is going to be more effective if they're just let them be free rather than being the robotic scheme that we are forcing down their throats. Just let's open it up and let everybody just, run wild.
I mean,
I don't know.
I tweeted this on Saturday. Let me see. I need to present. Look at that. Share screen. Have fun. All right. I'm just gonna not. Okay. Whatever. I tweeted this on Saturday that it said it will never not be funny how consistently productive Iowa State is in tempo situations. There we go. I've got it finally. It said it'll never not be funny how consistently productive Iowa State is in tempo situations while utterly refusing to do anything similar the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely
100%.
accurate. Like it blows my mind, because we saw it when under Brock Purdy, we saw with Tom Manning, we saw it in that group, we saw it last weekend when they run tempo and there's urgency and they can't just sit there and overanalyze every single play. The offense is like inarguably and consistently like really productive and it's just good. It's just good offense. And then for whatever reason they do that and they score and they're like, you know what? Let's never do that again. Let's make sure our next drive is 9 minutes long.
It's the 2-minute scenario, right? Like in football, in the NFL and things like that. You look over the course of the years, let's just use Patrick Mahomes, like Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, all those guys. Then in the 2-minute situation, it doesn't come down to your scheme at that point in time. You have the 2 minutes to move the ball down the field, and you have guys that are going to just make those plays. And you're not forced to think about, okay, we game plan for this situation. Yeah, they run the 2-minute offense and simulations like that during the week in the game in practice, but when you actually get in the game, it comes down to a guy just making plays, and they're not thinking, they're just doing. And when you similar to the up-tempo thing, it's more of it's not a scheme thing. It's just okay, we got certain plays that we're going to run in an up-tempo situation. If they call them in for the sideline, boom, go, boom, go, boom, go. It's just not, you're not thinking, you're just doing. And for a young guy, if you're going to make him be, pushed into a scheme,
simplify the game as much as you can.
Yeah. So that goes into, like, you look at younger quarterbacks. And I'm using the NFL a lot as a point here because it's very eerily similar to a progression of a young quarterback in the NFL, and a lot of people can grasp that concept rather than playing a freshman in college. But so they talk about NFL quarterbacks. How do we simplify the game for these guys and slow it down? Okay, well, we cut half the field and eliminate half the reads, and they just have 1 to 2, 3 reads and half the field by play action or whatever it is. Well, in terms of, we're never going to be the traditional play action game where we're booting out a quarterback and cutting down their reads by booting out and half the field on the boot. So what do? Just go to a quick game, 5 plays that he's very comfortable with, and that, there's going to be a guy open somewhere that he can just get the ball in the snap. 1, 2, 3 out. 1, 2, 3 out. It doesn't have to be read through 5 progressions. That's not going to work with Rocco. So you just got to be those quick, not thinking about it, balls out, here it goes, and up tempo, and that's going to work. And this whole forcing the run up the middle and hoping that they'll bust one off over and over again is obviously clearly not working. And I have a feeling some Saturday we're going to do it again, just because the basis of Oklahoma State's run defense is not great. But if Oklahoma, or if we cannot run the ball against Oklahoma State, we'll never run the ball at all this year, ever. Like, this is the low end of the rush defenses that we will face this season as it currently stands.
Yeah, they're a bad rush defense.
So if you cannot run the ball against Oklahoma State, we are not running the ball on anybody.
Correct.
And I know the people have been floating around the idea. It's been on several podcasts. It's been on Twitter that, okay, maybe Iowa State needs to do what they did, defensively after the Texas game, revamped it, the 3-3-5 stack. It's not that simple offensively, just because there's a lot more moving parts. You can't just change the whole playbook. It's more of just what they would revamp our simple concepts. If they're go up tempo, not up tempo, all that other stuff. If they're going to do a quicker passing game, more passes, that's the stuff they'll revamp, but it isn't going to be an entire philosophy on the offensive side of the ball. I don't envision them changing the offense one bit. I think they're just going to go with it the same way and hope that something breaks with it. Maybe it does, but at this point in time, it's not.
So Mike Gundy was in a press conference earlier this week, and he said, so when he asked for what he sees in Iowa State, he says the same thing that they've been in the past. They're really good on defense. They're going to do what they do. They're a 13 personnel team on offense. They're going to do what they do. They're going to run counters. They're going to run zones. They're going to run play pass. They're try to suck you in and get the ball thrown out there. They're a wall punt return team. They are what they are, and they have been for years. Then on familiar area with ISU, after changing to an odd man front this season, he says, we're not identical in what we do, but there are similarities. We come in with some of the odd man front that they've seen. They come in with some of the odd man front that we've seen. There'll be more similarities in this game than in times that we've played against Coach Campbell. So even Gundy is looking at this like, yeah, they do exactly the same shit that they've always done. Like, I would say it is extraordinarily predictable. And it's just.
And that's like, okay, that's fine if you're going to do that stuff, if you're going to be the offense you want to be, but have the ability to do it. Like, we literally possess zero ability to run the offense we want to run.
This linebacker, Oklahoma State's linebacker, is lying through his fucking teeth. Yeah, Jeff Roberson, he said on the matchup against Iowa State, he said, obviously they're a good football team. We respect every opponent we play. They've got some good tight ends, a good offensive line, good quarterback. We're going to go play some, we're going to have to come play some ball, watch film on them and get the week roll. Oh my God.
That's a prototypical of we can't say anything bad about the during the press conference. Speaking of which, I found this kind of interesting. I found this on the old Twitter space.
Yeah, this thing. I wanted to talk about this. This is wild.
I don't know if I can't zoom in on Twitter or on Discord, but I will read this for you. This is on GoPokes 24/7. This has been floating around Twitter, but this is wildly interesting. So you know how everybody knows how the 247 boards go on every team's page, and even Cyclone Fanatic. Everybody claims they know something, but every once in a while you'll come across that random guy on a board that happens to just be right.
They've clearly got some connection. Yeah,
it's not fun, but it's like, if it happened, holy crap. All right. So for those who are listening to the podcast and not on the stream, and those who cannot read it on the stream, I will read this for you. So this is on the GoPucks 24/7 football page. It says from a poster, word is we are going to see massive exodus of contributors after the Iowa State game. They are going to quit and then enter the portal when it opens. We might not have a starting 22 in 2 weeks. This is not an exaggeration, this is always the fun part about people posting on boards. Like, this is not exaggeration. Believe me. And he goes, from what I know, it's happening. It's why Gundy is acting the way he's acting. He's getting ready to have a built-in excuse that he will absolutely blame on the players and their greed. And this is always a must in a 247 post that I was right on Sanders and Muhammad, whatever that means. I don't know. Don't care. I'm right on this. So also this guy's just whatever. The ship is sunk. It has nothing to do with OAN or that nonsense. These kids were in junior high when that all went down and were totally messed up with COVID restrictions. The hell does that even mean? Anyways, it has everything to do with NIL money and making sure parents/handlers are taken care of. We don't do that at all. Not even a little. They will go where they are taken care of. So this guy is claiming that most of the Oklahoma State football team will be done after the Iowa State game. If they're done, why not be done now?
That would be full crazy town to have that, like, have a mass exodus from a program like that.
I don't buy that.
I don't know if I'd say don't buy one bit, but I'm putting it like a 2% chance that it's real. Like
imagine, like, if they're going to leave,
if that happened,
then handling at the end of the season that they are now.
If that happened, then every single thing that like Dabo Swinney has said about an NIL is completely validated immediately.
Yeah, if an entire team leaves because of NIL, something has to be done. Like instantly.
Something immediately has to be done as far as like regulating NIL. Period. Like at that point, Congress is going to have to step in. Because like you can't just have whole teams just up and bailing just because the school doesn't have as much NIL money as something else. And
yeah, it would be completely wild. Because if that's the case and that could happen there, it could simply happen at Iowa State.
Good.
Yeah, and that's just going to create even more damage in the college football world than has already been done. And
if this happens and something isn't immediately done about it, like that is going to set a precedent for all future coach/player NIL based relations from here forward. Saying, if I don't get what I want, I'll just quit.
Yeah,
I mean at that point, you don't have a sport left. I mean, at that point, you have nothing left. If players feel emboldened to quit the football team and go to the transfer portal mid-season because they're not getting as much NIL money as they would like or as they think they deserve, the whole sport's ruined at that point. Like, I mean, what's the point in giving a shit if you're not like one of the top 10 NIL schools in the country? What's the point? At that point, what's the point? Because your whole team could just up and quit because they decide, well, I don't get enough money here. So, well, we're giving you as much as we can.
Yeah,
it's going to be so bad for college football. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's true. So I just saw that floating around.
Honestly, I hope it's not. Like, the only reason you hope it happens is because for the same reason you hope and you watch like the Daytona 500 and you see a big wreck. It's like, it's kind of fun to watch or whatever like that. It's bad for everybody involved. And it's like, it's not actually a good thing that it's happening, but it's like, the horror. It's kind of
R.I.P. Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah. To be fair, that wasn't a big pilot. That was just him and one other guy, but,
have some respect on Ken Schrader's name. All right.
It was only two guys.
And Sterling Martin.
But, Sterling Marlin, you mean?
No, Sterling Martin. It's Sterling Martin.
It's Sterling Marlin.
Nah, you're full of shit.
I was a big NASCAR guy back then. I know. It's Sterling Marlin.
It is Sterling Marlin. Yeah. Sterling Martin is a law group.
Yeah, no.
The more you know.
Sterling Marlin drove the Coors Light car.
Yeah.
I haven't watched NASCAR for a long time, but I did watch it back then. And So, because sometimes things need to burn underground before they get rebuilt. The problem here is I don't know. Let's just say this happens. Let's say 75% of Oklahoma State's football team just up and quits because they're unhappy with NIL or they're unhappy with their coach or something like that. Whatever that is. I'm sure there's a million things that they would do that for. Let's say that happens. Now there's a precedent for people for players just up and quitting in the middle of the season for no reason whatsoever.
I might need Sterling Martin for some reason.
And you can't force them to stay at the school, obviously, or whatever. So that's not the solution. I don't like the only thing you can do is hope to regulate NIL and say, I don't even know how you regulate NIL in a way that doesn't violate some sort of existing law or the Constitution or whatever. I don't know how you regulate NIL. I don't know what that even looks like, without violating the principle itself. So this is all good. If this happens, it's going to be terrible for college football. Really, really, really bad. Not only is Oklahoma State's football program basically eliminated from competitive play for the next 5 to 10 years, it's really bad for the entire sport.
See,
Oklahoma State immediately becomes an automatic bottom feeder for the next half decade.
This is the exact same thing that is wrong with the message boards and then the Twitter. Like everybody has to make up something to try. Like let's just use the conference realignment stuff, the Greg Swaims of the world, the M Havers, the all those things. Like everyone's just scavenging message boards for any little thing possible and putting together into some coherent sentence that makes sense. And hey, that really could happen. Like these people are just posting shit to see if it sticks. And if they're saying, well, I told you so, I was right, and it's just the day and age of the internet that we're in. And I think this is the case right now with this guy at Oklahoma State.
I hope it is. Because if by some miracle he's right, where this whole thing's fucked. It might be fucked anyways, but at least we might have time to unfuck it.
Like, how could you as a player, okay, yeah, they played poorly against South Alabama, and maybe statistically they're not up to par right now, but they're still 2-1. They are 1/4 of the way. No, they're 1/3 of the way to a bowl game.
Right. The thing is,
they have to stumble into 4 more wins, and they're going bowling.
The problem is, I don't think they're gonna. And this one
we don't think they're going to, but as players, they should believe that they are going to.
You would think. The thing here is that this is not the first time that we've heard of turmoil within that program based around people not being happy with Mike Gundy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you could see that people are not thrilled with him, because he's said some things, done some things, but to have an entire starting group leave after one football game like it was a planned, deliberate thing seems a little far-fetched to me. Now,
that would be pretty nuts.
I'll eat crow on it, but I'm not going to eat that much crow on it because it's not my program, and I don't care at the end of the day if Oklahoma State blows up. But right. It's still, in terms of the entire sport of college football, would be not great.
Oh, it'd be terrible.
Whose program is in worse shape right now, ISU or Oklahoma State? Well, currently, considering Oklahoma State is 2-1, they're a little bit in an advantage record-wise, if you want to put it that way. Worse shape? I don't really know because I am not familiar with the recruiting classes or the depth behind the current starters at Oklahoma State.
Just in general, Oklahoma State usually has a little bit of an advantage.
Oklahoma State was in the Big 12 title game 2 years ago, such as was Baylor too. So it's like they're not that far off of playing for a Big 12 title, and they always seem to find a way out of a hole that they dig themselves into here in the last, let's just say 10 years. if they fall into a little bit of rut, they've somehow pulled it up and put together a top 3 season in the Big 12.
Right.
No, Mike
They're
Gundy is not an idiot.
Yeah, I mean,
football-wise.
just because of their proximity to really good recruits, they're usually like one good recruiting class or one decent coaching staff, away from being really good.
Now
and having a big
their
bounce back
defensive
there.
coordinator leaving for Ohio State before last year,
It's not great.
that took a hit to them. But I mean, his pay was probably increased tremendously to go and coach with Ryan Day. So you can't really fault him for that. I mean, it happened to us. We had Tom Herman leave and go to Ohio State. So,
Right.
It's one of those things. So that really took a kick in between the legs for them because their defense was really good under. I can't remember his name. God dang it. Who the hell is that? Oh, Jim Knowles.
Yeah.
So he was really good in his time at Oklahoma State. Those dudes were flying to a ball under him. And I don't even it was 3 years. So so it hasn't been the same since.
They were exceptionally good on defense, under Jim Knowles, but this year they just have not been very good,
or really last year for that matter. So yeah.
I mean,
I think
this is a game where Iowa State can get on track because Oklahoma State can't move the ball. They can't stop the run. Oklahoma State can't really do anything particularly well. This is a game.
Really quick before we go into the shots.
Actually, the one thing they do extremely well is they're very, very, very good on special teams, like top 5 in the country on special teams.
Everybody in the chat, before we kind of dissect this Oklahoma State game really quick, if you could toss in just random questions, we'll take. I don't think we're gonna go much longer here on this Oklahoma State stuff, but toss in a few questions, things that we can kind of end the podcast with, and we'll it could be about anything really. I don't care at this point. Maybe talking something else other than football might help us a little bit, So, anyways, get right game, right, Levi? That's what you're saying.
I mean, that's the last one on the schedule. I mean, this is an opportunity this weekend to win a game against a team that's struggling. Like they have talent on the roster, but they're struggling, and it's a team that is bad at the things you need them to be bad at, and. They're not going to have any trouble stopping Oklahoma State. I mean, I'd be surprised if Oklahoma State scored more than 14 points. But, the offense has to get it together. And this is your opportunity to try something different, to show Iowa State fans that you can adapt and you can make adjustments instead of just being stuck in your bone and your stubborn ways. This is your opportunity to do that because it's a team that you can do that against. But personally, I don't have a lot of faith that anything's going to change. But
yeah, nothing's changed on offense for me in my head. But
no.
Yeah, they need to. The playbook has to show it can open a lot more than what it has through the first 3 weeks of the season. Because if we come into this game and we are doing the same shit over and over again that we have been doing. It's going to be a very heavily, and it already is, heavily drank Saturday afternoon for every single game the rest of the way. And it's going to be tough to watch. I mean, the defense is fun to watch, but, the defense has scored 1 touchdown this season. They're not going to score 30 points a game themselves. It's impossible. Just based on the law of percentages here. Is that even a thing, law of percentages? It is now, if it wasn't before. So
law of averages.
Sure. There you go. There we go.
All right.
I knew what I meant. I knew what I was feeling. So yeah, the offense has to find a way to move the ball, and I'm fully on board with the pass to run option. Open it up, throw the ball downfield at 20 yards. Rocco can make those throws, get guys going down the seams, just do a thing. So let's do a quick prediction. We didn't really yell this much this one, but I think we got some fun questions here I want to get to here. I'm seeing a lot of tailgate stuff. Got some basketball questions. We'll touch on these things here real quick. So give me a quick prediction, Levi.
14-10 Oklahoma State.
10-7 Oklahoma State is what I had. Ugh, pain. Whew.
That might be the second time I've ever predicted Iowa State to lose a game.
I just have no faith right now.
I know. I'm just so down on the entire program right now that I just can't. I can't be talked into being optimistic until I see something.
We need a shot, an injection of good things happening.
We
Saturday.
need good vibes. Need good vibes.
Yeah. All right, Levi. I know your crew always has a well planned out tailgate. What's on the grill for the tailgate on Saturday for you?
We're actually missing a couple people on Saturday. Ordinarily, we have a pretty good spread. I think we're just doing kind of standard grill items, burgers and brats, and then
Can't go wrong there.
Yeah, macaroni, corn, stuff like that. Pretty standard like picnic grill out type fare this weekend, I think. Plus our standard cookie crisp White Russians.
You know what I wish, and you could do it, but I wish the tailgating had, and I wish I had a better way to haul it. But you look at the SEC tailgates, they have smokers and all this stuff. I wish I could bring that stuff with me, and it was not a pain in the ass.
The only way you could do that at Iowa State is if you did it in the RV lots and you got there the night before. Because now,
yes,
I mean the lots only open 6 hours before kickoff, and that's not. I mean, your smoker needs to be hot, and
I would have a joyous time just smoking meats.
Oh my god,
yeah.
That's why, I would love to get an RV spot and go the night before and actually do like a brisket or something like that. Because
hell yeah,
6 hours is just enough time where you could do ribs, eat them fast, and then go in. Maybe
you wouldn't even have time to enjoy them.
Not really. You have to do a 3-2-1 method. You have to pull them off and hope they're done right away. And
if they're not, you're fucked.
If not, you're just gonna deal with chewy.
Then you're leaving your smoker out because it's still fucking warm. And...
yeah, you're still warm because there's no way that thing's cooling down before you hit to leave.
Yeah,
it's just not. You just can't do it like you would.
All right, same token of kind of question. What is the best tailgating food, and what is grotesquely overrated tailgating food?
Best tailgating food. Good question.
Yeah, see, it's hard to really pick because I wish you had more time to make better foods.
Best tailgating food would be like ribs or brisket or something like that, but you can't really smoke at the tailgates the way they're currently set up.
Dips
I'm
are
gonna
always...
say, chips and various dips are good, like bagel dip. Bagel dip rules at tailgates. Overrated, I'm gonna say like Chex Mix and stuff, like just like random like things like that, and like trail mix and stuff like that. Like I don't want that at a tailgate. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna actually, you know what? I'm gonna say best tailgating food. Just as if you're just gonna pick something, walking tacos. Walking tacos are real good tailgating food.
And Doritos are elite. Okay, do they call walking tacos with Fritos too? Or is that something different?
That's a Frito pie.
Okay, Frito pie.
I mean, you probably could do it with Fritos. I don't think there's any issue with that. But like,
I don't know. I just popped in my head. I'm like, hey, people put taco meat over Fritos.
I mean, the traditional taco in a bag or walking taco is Doritos.
Cubs losing 11-7. I don't want to talk about any Chicago sports right now. I am over Chicago sports right now. Other than the Cubs might back their ass up into the playoff spot, but they're trying to blow that too.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't want it a lot. I don't want a lot of it. But I don't mind candy corn. I don't I don't buy a bag of it, but if I get some pieces in a handful of something,
I don't buy candy corn, but if people make like that fall mix that has the candy corn, I eat it.
Yeah. I don't go out of my way to eat candy corn, but I'll eat it.
I mean, I'll join the battle if people are like, if people were in the streets picketing about candy corn, it's like I'd probably just jump in just because, I don't know, I overly believe it, but it's like, yeah, I don't care either way. Like if candy corn fell off the face of the earth today, I would not care.
Oh, I wouldn't either.
Yeah. Starting five for basketball. The only thing I really want to say on that is I'm interested to see how the whole dynamic with Omaha takes shape, just because of he didn't have a whole lot of playing time when they were down in the Bahamas, but they are also just trying a bunch of stuff. Now, if it's going to be interesting if he doesn't start, or if maybe he's starting by Big 12 play. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff to shake out there. I think I'm not even really comfortable talking about a starting five for basketball. One, they're deeper than what they have been in talent wise.
The only
guards are going to be
starter
better
right now is Taman Lipsey.
Taman Lipsey. Now,
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see if this step forward, like when the basketball staff talks about a player kind of taking a step forward, I kind of half-ass believe it. Now, they also said Rob Jones got a little bit better last year, which he did.
Yeah, marginally.
But there isn't a whole lot of room for growth on Rob Jones. He's just is what he is, and he might just be a little quicker, move his feet a little bit better. That might be the stuff he gets better on. Now, when they're talking about
just do less goofy shit.
They've talked like Taman Lipsey's even said it on some podcasts that he's been on, and the coaching staff is saying that he's working on. I truly believe Taman Lipsey is going to be a better scorer this year. Like it's one of those things. It's like a natural. Like he can't be any worse than he was last year, and he's had the whole offseason with the coaching staff and all that stuff. That's gonna be fun and a dynamic to see kind of unfold, because if Taman Lipsey becomes a guy that averages 10 points a game, also while being the offensive creator that he is, watch out, boys. This is gonna be interestingly fun basketball.
I mean, but if he doesn't have a jump shot, then we're back to where we were last
year. Then we're back to last year. But also on that same end, we have some better guards outside of Taman that no slot to Gabe Kalsher by any means, but I think the guys that we have that are going to play that 2 spot are immensely better than Gabe. Athletically wise, things like Gabe was a good defender, but you kind of traded that off for Noah, and I think we're going to have a little bit of a happy medium between those two things. But they're still going to be pretty good defensively, I would imagine. Let's see. Brownie says best tailgating food is beer and brats minus the brats. Oh, beer. Gotcha. Following it. Pulled pork and clone cones. All right, listen here, mother hugger. You're getting ready to cancel this podcast, aren't you? Look. All right, we're not talking about clone cones. I'm gonna come back to clone cones at the end. All right. Can you even get a clone? You can't even get one.
You can't get clone cones at football games. Yeah. No, I mean you'd have to get your own soft serve.
Brownie says crayons are greater than candy corn. Trek says I wish I lived in an alternate universe where that
it was actually real.
Actually real.
Yeah.
How do we only have 4 on our tennis roster?
Because the coach that took us to whatever that took us like farther into the NCAA tournament or whatever it was last year, the coach that had a really good season last year left, and I think he took like most of the roster with him.
Imagine that.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Gonna be a rough ride for the tennis team, eh?
Pretty much what it's always been. I would say tennis has been bad for a long time.
Listen, we are a tennis school now, and hello, darkness, my only friend. We are back to where we were before. Damn. You know what? We have been obsessing about beer injectors.
I mean, honestly, like clone cones at football games make a lot more sense than basketball games. I mean, it's hot out. It's hotter than sin outside. Like, give me some ice cream.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. You want to sell it there, sell it there. Wait, they legitimately don't sell it in Jack Trice?
I don't think so. I mean, if they do, I've never seen it.
How do you not sell ice cream in a football stadium?
I don't know. How do you not sell beer or ice cream? Like, I mean, like, it doesn't make any sense.
Actually, now that I think about it, going to NFL games and things like that and other college stadiums, I don't know if I've ever really seen anybody eating ice cream in a football game.
I couldn't tell you.
All right, now we're talking. All right. This is a clone cone I can get behind.
My only like qualm with booze and ice cream is when people make grasshoppers. Have you ever had a grasshopper?
Yeah, they're delicious.
They're so minty. I'm not like I can do a little mint, but it's like that's way too much mint.
I guess I've never had a grasshopper and said this is too much mint.
Grasshoppers are too much mint. Maybe it's just how my grandma makes them, but there's way too much.
My wife's grandparents make pretty good.
Too much mint.
Grasshoppers. Yeah. Years ago they had clone cones. I know because I sold the.
He sold them the ice cream machines. Huh.
So you're the culprit to my problems, John. Why did you sell them flavor with it, John?
Yeah, you couldn't sell them the strawberry and lemon flavor with it.
Make a clone cone like a Miami Vice.
I don't even know what that is.
It's an alcoholic drink.
Clone cones are only sold in the End Zone Club.
I would not doubt it.
Honestly, that wouldn't shock me one bit because we can make sure that the only the people in the End Zone Club get the fun stuff.
So Levi, the Miami Vice is I believe it's pina colada and strawberry daiquiris mixed,
Okay.
or layer and then layer. I think Brownie can correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Food coloring does wonders. Yeah. Well, you missed the flavor, John.
Yeah, they really should have just
John.
done strawberry ice cream with lemon sorbet mixed. I don't know why. It's such an obvious thing.
My kingdom forever allows the poorest to.
I mean, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. With this
Okay,
whole
so
thing.
I didn't make it to the Iowa game, but can anybody confirm near the south end or the end zone club were the walls taken down, the glass walls?
Oh, I didn't even look. I should have looked.
I guess I never followed up with it because I was so pissed off about losing to Iowa at that point.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Never
so I
looked,
sat
yeah.
next to the glass wall against UNI, and I never there's anybody watching that sits near there where the glass walls next to the south end zone. Does anybody know? Brownie, I think Brownie wasn't there at the game. Shoot. I'll have to do a follow-up on that. Investigative work.
We have to really dive back into the Wider Natty Light investigative journalism department.
That is we have no funds for that department and no employees.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not a very well put together department.
Yeah, I'd be curious. There was a Twitter post that showed that the walls are down. Mr. Gorbachev, turn on these walls worked. Baby, yeah. Dude, that was so bad.
The poverty partition. Oh my gosh. There we go. Keeping the pores away since 2023.
Right, I thought I saw Jamie Pollard tweet something about taking them down. Good on him. How come he didn't respond to my tweet about it?
Yeah.
He's scared? That was so bad. Like the lady, like 2 rows behind me and sitting right next, she's like, I cannot see. Like, if this was a game that was like interesting and like a big time game, she's like, I can't see like a half of the field when you sit down and look. She's like, so then you got to stand. Well, then you're standing in front of somebody who's sitting down behind you, and it's why? Who in their right mind thought that was a good idea?
Also, cell reception at Jack Trice still mostly sucks.
Yeah, it helps, but it didn't help
Not really.
a lot.
It didn't change anything.
The Unite game wasn't bad, but I'm guessing the Iowa game probably was pretty bad just because the amount.
I had no data during the game at all.
Yeah, it was probably because the amount of people outside the stadium too.
I guess, but even at the UNI game, I didn't have much during the game.
I did pretty good.
I mean, I had some, but not much.
And when I say pretty good at the Unite game, it's partly because it was way better than absolutely nothing. I can still tweet. Yeah, that's a problem. Which, I mean, if they're not going to put actual Wi-Fi in the stadium, and I mean, they've already spent money on these cell towers. Why didn't they just go to Wi-Fi and a bunch of routers? And I guess that's more
because why would we do the logical thing? That's never the option we take. If
there's one thing that Jamie Pollard has missed this entire time at his,
it's whatever is very obvious.
That and fan experience at sporting events.
He doesn't give a shit. He sits in a box. Why would he care?
Well, a very shitty box at that. Our press box sucks.
Well, it's got AC now.
Woohoo! It still looks like a pile of garbage.
It does. I've been up in it. It's bad.
Yeah, we do game day experience, like the production, from the production to the fan experience. It's bad.
It's really bad. Yeah, I mean, it's just really, the whole thing's just really poorly done. I mean, I don't know. It's become clear to me that Jamie is 100% taking for granted the fan base he has, and their patience for dealing with dumb shit or a lack of amenities, and he's gonna build Icetown, and then it's gonna be really annoying, and then we're gonna be sitting there with a huge shopping mall with a hospital in it.
Fuck yeah.
And the stadium's still going to be way behind on upgrades.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What Jack Trice was completed in what year? 19.
First game was in 72.
So I would be interested to look from 1972 all the way until the south end zone construction. What upgrades were done? An entire list of them would be fun to go through because I'm gonna guess it's bare minimum.
I'm guessing it's a postcard at the most.
Yeah. So then what? Like, okay, so we are on a 50-year-old stadium. Like, in some cases, NFL teams are getting rid of stadiums within under 20 years, or even up to 20 years. We are on 50 years with no major upgrades other than the south end zone project and some bathroom upgrades and some concourse upgrades. But like the structure itself, like I'm gonna guess it has to be looked into. Like you can't just assume that concrete's gonna last that long. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
it has to be picking apart in some places. I would.
And I mean, they probably do a pretty good job of keeping up on it. I mean, generally speaking, I mean, just as a not that I've looked at it super hard, but I mean, generally speaking, the concrete.
You don't notice it. Yeah.
I mean, it looks fine. I mean, yeah, there isn't like chunks falling down or anything like that. So I mean, like structurally, the stadium's just fine or whatever. But like all the seats, all the benches that are red and gold.
Why not go to stadiums?
They're all faded
stadium
out.
Seating. I'm gonna guess stadium seating eliminates seats, but why not go to stadium seating?
Oh, that would definitely reduce capacity, no doubt about it. Yeah, I don't know. The stadium seats would be kind of tough. Because you'd have to, I mean, even if you just stick with the benches, I mean, you could replace them, make them a little bit wider.
Put backs on the benches.
Put backs on all of them instead of just the middle section. Like, I don't know. What really torques me is that there's a lot of things that in the stadium that need to get upgraded. Well, we're worried about completing a $150 million vanity project. Went through there, and I've been on it from the very beginning of the whole thing that if Sci-Town turns out to be a wild success, I'm more than happy to eat crow. But I have been, and you know this from day one, I wouldn't call it an opponent, but I've been definitely a skeptic of Sci-Town. I think it's poorly.
Well, the thing is when Jamie Pollard's gone, that's when the problems.
It won't matter.
The problems will arise.
He's going to build his vanity project, then he's going to retire, and then it's everybody else's problem.
Yeah.
All he's going to do, because he added more parking. All he did was make straight in parking, and you made the stalls too narrow to do anything. You made objectively made the tailgating experience worse, and he somehow managed to brainwash 50,000, 100,000 people into thinking this is some just objective, no downside good thing, or whatever. Because we're gonna supposedly make a bunch of money on it, I guess.
All right, I'm coming back to this. Pulled pork and clone cones. Who in their right mind eats pulled pork and fucking ice cream at the same time?
I would. If I had,
I probably would. But also,
if someone handed me a bowl of ice cream with a pile of pulled pork on top, I would eat that in a heartbeat. Are you kidding me?
Come on, as a tailgating option though, I'm going pulled pork nachos. I'm just killing the pulled pork. I ain't gonna have time for the clone cone. Like, who even in their right mind would even think about a clone cone at this point in time? Plus, clone cones suck. There's no flavoring to it.